Part 8, Chapter 15. Hale lay on his side, next to his ejection seat. His parachute was whipping in the wind, his head was throbbing inside his helmet, and he was slightly nauseated from the ride down. Ejection was a lot rougher than in any of the simulations, though now that he thought about it, fighting with Deakins and struggling to hold on to his shoulder harness probably had a lot to do with that. The ejectee was supposed to hold the shroud lines, not the harness, to try and control the landing somewhat. Instead, Hale had bounced off a tree and landed on his side, before finally undoing his seatbelt and spilling from the seat. He pulled off his helmet and then lay there. He kept his eyes shut and didn't move, concentrating on the deep breathing exercises he'd been taught to marshal his strength. But his ears were still working, in spite of the pounding of whatever goddamn pulse was drumming up there, and after a few minutes he heard the gravelly crunch of footsteps approaching from behind. He continued to breathe deeply, listening as the footsteps stopped, and then he felt a hand on his shoulder. Deakins, he surmised. He was nothing if not thorough, the son of a bitch. Spinning around, fast and sure, Hale grabbed where the front of Deakin's flight suit would be and got a fistful of fabric. Then he rolled, pulling the figure with him, scrambling onto his knees, and straddled the newcomer. He cocked his left arm back, ready to jab the man as he'd never jabbed him in the ring. And then he checked himself, because the man underneath him wasn't a man, but a woman. A park ranger woman. The woman didn't bother to check herself. Terry put the top of her thumb into the crook of her index finger, forming a hard pyramid with the thumb knuckle, and drove it into Hale's temple. The pain stretched from the top of his head to his shoulder, from earlobe to nose, and he went over like a bop bag, though he didn't spring up again. Terry was on top of him, but she was at least 60 pounds lighter and wasn't there for long. Hale bucked up at the waist to distract her, then pushed her back. She fell on her shoulders. Hale slid from under her, and he was off like a sprinter at the gun. Did park rangers have guns? He wondered, now that he thought of it. As he ran across the uneven, rocky terrain, he dodged from side to side, head down, shoulders weaving. He was dizzy from the fall and from having gotten up too fast and nearly stumbled as he ran. Damn sliver of a moon, he thought as he cursed the darkness. Hale had never been the kind of man who looked up at the Milky Way in wonder and awe. Only machines and big buildings and other products of human industry impressed him. And right now, he would have traded all the stars and planets and that eggshell nothing of a moon for a good, heavy with D-cells flashlight. Oh, shit! Hale screamed, stopping short, arms pinwheeling like a cartoon character as he came suddenly to the edge of a cliff and a 50-foot drop. That would be the wrong way, Terry said from behind him. Hale spun around and saw the gun pointed in his direction. That answered that question. But he still had an option. There was a rock wall to the right, but in the other direction was a patch of trees about 40 yards away. Beyond them, the cliff seemed to slope down gradually. You'd never make it down, Terry said. Trust me. Why? He asked. Why trust me? She asked. No, he said. Why would I never make it down? Terry said. Because you'd have a bullet in each leg. Now raise them, she said, swinging the gun up as a visual aid. Reluctantly, Hale did so. Terry waved him towards the rock wall. The cool stone felt good against his torn palms, though he resented the hell out of being ordered around. Hands behind you, she said. Look, Hale said. I'm a captain in the United States Air Force. "Well, Captain," she said, "you're under arrest." "Am I?" he said. "And exactly what am I being charged with here? What have I done wrong?" "You struck a federal park ranger," she said. "Hands behind you, please." Hale heard a delicate jingling as Terry snapped open the handcuffs to put on him. He stood straight and put his hands behind him. "Okay, I did strike you," he said. "But I thought you were with him." "Who?" "Somebody who did something a lot worse than I did. Look, I ejected from a plane. You must have seen the crash." She snapped a cuff on one wrist. "Nope. What I saw looked like a plane, but—" "That was me," Hale said eagerly. "I mean, it was mine." Terry snapped on the other cuff. "Tell it to the judge." Hale turned suddenly and Terry stepped back. She raised the gun. "Lady," he said, "you don't know what's going on." "Obviously," she said. "But here's the situation as I see it. Wherever you came from, you're in my house now, pal. And since I don't know you from Job, you're under arrest until we get this sorted. Capiche?" Hale shook his head. "You are one mule-headed lady." "You really know how to flatter a gal," she said. "Listen, I need your help, so I'm going to have to tell you something I can't tell you." Terry holstered her gun and took Hale by the arm. "Save yourself the inner struggle. I don't want to hear it." "You've got to," Hale said. "Wrong," Terry countered. She put her hand around his elbow and started walking him ahead. "Damn it!" Hale snapped. "There were nuclear weapons on the plane. Real ones, not dummies. We were on a training mission and the guy I was flying with is trying to steal them." "Are you related to Mrs. Parker?" she asked. "Her son, maybe." "You don't believe me, do you?" Hale said. "You could say that." "Jesus," Hale said, exasperated. "You think I staged all of this just to fool you?" "No," she finally admitted, "but I honestly don't know what to think." "Then let me tell you," Hale said. "I have to stop this guy and I need your help. At least I need you not to try and stop me. Please. I'm not crazy and I promise not to try to hurt you." Terry came around Hale and faced him. "Show me some ID," she said. Hale rolled his eyes. "We don't carry any on missions." She made a face. "Of course not." She pushed him. "Let's get going." Hale stiffened his legs. "No." She pushed the gun into the small of his back. "Yes." "Go ahead and shoot," Hale said. "I'm not moving. I have to go after him." "The mad bomber," Terry said. "Right," Hale said. "Listen to me," Terry said. "Come back to the ranger station. Clyde will contact your superiors and they can decide what to do." The ranger gave Hale a rough push, and huffing with frustration, he used the forward momentum to jump up, tuck his knees into his chest, and slide his handcuffed hands under his feet. Hale turned and snatched the revolver from her holster and pointed it at her head. The first indication he had that she'd whipped a knife from her belt was when he felt the point against his throat. "Friggin' scrawny moonlight," he thought. "Those things are supposed to glint." He looked at her with half a smile. "This isn't exactly a standoff," he said. "I've got the gun." Terry said, "I know it isn't a standoff. I never keep my gun loaded." She tapped her belt. He glanced down at the silver tips of the bullets. They glinted, damn them. Terry held out her hand. Hale allowed the revolver to swing by the trigger guard on his finger, and Terry pulled the gun away. They were standing less than 2 feet apart. In the moment that Terry's eyes shifted to the gun, Hale hooked his left leg behind hers, wrapped his hand around her knife hand, and pushed her backward over his leg. As she fell, he spun her around so that he landed on top of her, the knife she still held at her throat. They hit hard, and Terry lost her breath. "Sorry about this," Hale growled in her ear. "But I'm telling you the truth." She struggled for a moment, then gave up. "This is not a good way to convince me," she snarled, followed by another short burst of angry wriggling. Hale said, "I think it is. I could kill you right now, right?" Terry didn't answer. "Couldn't I?" Hale angled the tip of the 6-inch blade against her jugular vein. "Yeah," Terry nodded. "You could kill me." "Okay," said Hale. "Now that we agree, let's talk." The captain let go of Terry's hand and rose. He offered to help her up. She shook her head and stood on her own. She was still holding the knife. "All right," she said, rubbing her throat. "Talk." "Like I said," Hale told her, "I need your help to track and trap this guy." "How?" Terry brushed herself off. "Fake with the left so I can hit him with the right." He watched her for a moment. "Hey, I'm really sorry about all of this. Did I hurt you?" "I've survived hungry mountain lions, black bears, bighorn sheep, and mule deer." She threw back her hair. "You're a featherweight, to stay with your boxing metaphor." In spite of his cracked skull and rage at Deakins, Hale smiled. "So, what do you want to do?" she asked. "What I'm thinking is we've got to get to a radio." "I have one in my truck," she said. "Good," Hale said. "We go there and you get on the radio. Say I'm unconscious and you're bringing me in." "Why bother? Why not just radio McMurrin and let them know what's going on? Get the Marines in here." Hale shook his head. "Deakins, that's the prick, Vic Deakins, will be monitoring any radio transmissions out of here." "You sure?" "Completely. He's thorough. Will have thought of everything." "Except this plan of yours," she said warily. "Yeah," Hale replied. "The way he sent me out of the plane, the last thing he'll expect is for us, to be coming after him." "Sounds like a great guy," Terry said. "Who is he?" Hale looked down. The horrible betrayal went down like sour milk. "He was someone I would have trusted with my life. He's the last guy in the world I'd expect to do something like this. I still can't believe it." Terry sheathed her knife, then looked around for the revolver. "Think he's in this alone?" Hale shook his head. "No. He'll need help with the nukes. He has to have people on the ground. People and transportation." "Yeah," Terry said as she found the gun. She started plugging bullets into the chambers. "I guess this isn't the kind of thing you could just go in and wing." "No," said Hale. He has to have been planning this for a while. He looked at the ground. Why didn't he talk to me? Maybe I could have changed his mind. When she finished loading the gun, Terry snapped her wrist. The cylinder flew shut. She holstered the revolver, then walked over to Hale. If you couldn't have, would you have told your superiors? Hale looked at her. I would have had to, he said. For Deke's sake. She shrugged. Then that's why he didn't tell you. She opened the handcuffs. You've given me a reason to trust you, she said. I just hope I'm not setting myself up for the Sucker of the Year award. Don't worry, Hale said as she removed them. He rubbed his wrists. That's one trophy I've got a lock on. Chapter 16. The round green screen glowed in the dark cockpit of the Black Hawk. Rhodes had been watching the screen intently, dejectedly, for several minutes, staring at the electronic white grid overlay that shifted as his men moved eastward. Their own presence on the grid was indicated by a black rectangle. Finally one and then another white blip showed up on the lower right corner of the screen. Got 'em! Rhodes said into the microphone. He pointed them out to the pilot, and McKellar nodded. What are the coordinates? Wilkins asked. Rhodes checked the grid. One's in M17, the other's in M18. They're both in a crevasse, according to the relief map, Wilkins said. How deep? Looks like 45 feet on average, Wilkins told him. Not too wide either. If the bombs had landed width-wise, they'd most likely be lying across the top. We can handle that, Rhodes said. I'll let you know what we find there. Over. The dots came closer to the rectangle as the Black Hawk homed in on the coordinates. Rhodes felt good about having found them, and he felt even better when they were within 5 miles, and Lieutenant Thomas's Geiger counter told them, in its low, steady click, 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 that the warheads seemed intact. 20 minutes later, the Black Hawk was resting on the edge of the crevasse. The men had hammered in a piton into the hard rock and lowered strong nylon lines, which Rhodes, the only experienced climber, used to rappel down. Thomas and Reed shined powerful flashlights into the crevasse, while Kelly stood guard with an MP5 SD silenced submachine gun. The fissure was jagged, 7 feet wide at its widest point, 2 feet across at its narrowest, and sudden outcroppings of rock slowed Rhodes's descent. After hitting the bottom, he walked sideways, several yards to the right, where the crevasse narrowed. He lit his own flashlight, shined it ahead, and smiled. General Wilkins, he said into his helmet microphone. We've got one of them. How's it look? Rhodes played his flashlight around it, side to side and nose to tail. Intact, he said. I copy, Wilkins said. Thank God. Rhodes looked up. Gentlemen, he shouted. Let's move it along and find the other one. We're with you, sir, Kelly shouted down. Rhodes moved gingerly around the smooth warhead, which had been dented and scraped as it fell. Though he couldn't stumble and jar it into exploding, he was anxious to show the sleeping serpent respect in its adopted home, lest he tempt its fire. As the dragon said of its new abode in Ezekiel 29:3, My river is mine own, and I have made it for myself. The officer followed the beams through the narrowing crevasse, chilled by the cold dampness and by thoughts of the disaster that, it appeared, they had barely averted.